At one of my old jobs, there were cops hanging out in the lobby and a couple squad cars around the building. We were all wondering what was going on. Starting around midday, a bunch of us were called into HR one by one and were laid off. The first couple people were caught by surprise, the rest of us weren't after we had seen about 3 to 4 people packing their shit and leaving. I remember walking to that meeting so hopeful that I was not being fired, but I knew by that point.
Frequently, when you hit a little turbulence and the pilot reduces speed.
When you are walking through the woods and everything gets silent, no crickets, no birds, nothing. They've recognized 2 creatures are in the area that won't get along well. One is you and hopefully the second remains a mystery. Then out of the corner of your eye you spot him.
Walking into work and you see everyone is in one room at one table, with your boss at the far end and the only empty seat opposite them.
Your old classmate, friend, ex that you haven't talked with for a number of years. Started messaging you. Usually some MLM bullshit though.
As a child, knowing that you've done something you shouldn't have, and as you eat dinner your parents suddenly go silent and look at you. "We're getting a divorce." My dad used to segue into the "you done fucked up" conversation by turning off the internet access without telling me. This led to the inevitable moment of debating if we were having internet issues from the provider, or if I did something I didn't know about. Always led to the gambling question, why is the internet not working?
Seeing a suspiciously huge amount of policemen strolling around. A couple of years ago, I would have said, seeing armed military in a public place, but these days you basically see them on a daily basis, so it doesn't really mean anything anymore.
Middle of the day, the sky turns green. Green means go, get some shelter. Sky turns orange during a high wind, cue tornado sirens. Are they still on Namek?
When I was first dating my now wife, we got tested for STDs at the same time. When we went back for the results, we went into separate rooms, and 5 minutes later she walked by, gave me a thumbs up and said, "I'll wait in the waiting room." The doctor left me there for 15 minutes. 15 minutes during which I became more and more convinced that my ill-spent youth had resulted in me picking up something terrible, every minute getting more convinced it was HIV. Complete dread, thinking out how I'd explain to my friends and family, how I'd spend the rest of my time. AIDS was still a death sentence, unless you were a pro basketball player. Did you ever ask your wife what was going through her mind at the time?
A couple years ago, my 3-month-old son had an emergency MRI on his brain just to rule out some very unlikely possibilities. We were supposed to be called to the anesthesia recovery room in a couple hours, but got called after like 90 minutes. On our way there, the doctor caught my wife and I right before we got to the room and pulled us into the first random empty room he found. Needless to say, he had terrible news for us. I just recently experienced this exact situation, feeling truly awful. I'm sorry.
4 new voicemails, 45 plus new messages on your phone, and the door suddenly rings. That's a dedicated pizza man. Don't look at the moon.
You're in the trenches, and some whiskey gets passed down the line. Tonight we dine in hell, early 20th century edition.
When someone hits you with the "we need to talk" text. Call me. I got "come by my office, we need to talk" from my boss once. You're left with nothing but horrible worst-case scenario thoughts until you talk to them. One of the worst longest feelings ever. When a courier asks you to sign for a package, and it's a manila envelope. Never had this happen. What does it mean? Legal documents?
When you are told to come to the principal's office and to bring your stuff with you. This is more like a blinking health bar, you're in shit, but if you try very hard you'll get out of it. Just wanted to see your Spider-Man bag. It's really cool. I'm going to refer to you as Parker from now on. You can go back to class now.
When you go in for a doctor's appointment and there is suddenly a lot of senior healthcare professionals in the room. They left some gauze in you, they want to go back in to get it but they don't want to admit liability.
When your mouth starts filling up with watery spit and you know you're about to vomit. Take a seat. Shut the door. Is it okay if I shut the door first? Take a seat. Shut the door.
When things go bad at a job, good people leave, eventually followed by people who thought they could change things but got buried because too many good people left. Those left are bad people or hostages. The good people are your canary. You just articulated what I've been feeling at my job. Yikes. That's exactly it.
You should sit down. No, you. Chris Hansen, what are you doing here?
A meeting invitation set for 15 minutes from now with no additional information provided. A indicator that disappears from the chat window, starts again, disappears again, starts again.
You see your supervisor approaching accompanied by his/her boss, and security. Your parents take you to a nice dinner before some family news. You're adopted. It wasn't a nice dinner. Just my dad taking me Wendy's where I got a spicy chicken combo. I was 13 or 14. He didn't eat, or talk much for that matter. He was just kinda there.
When you get an unexpected call from a loved one in the middle of the workday. Related, when you get an unexpected call from your kid's school in the middle of the workday.
When a friend who's been struggling with depression for a while suddenly brightens up, becomes very generous, or wants to get all their friends together for a party etc. They're saying goodbye. I came to this thread for a giggle but everyone should be aware of this one. When you're chronically depressed everything is way too much effort, even killing yourself is too much work. When your mood starts to lift things get easier. Trouble is life's still shit but now you have just enough energy to do something about it. It's why antidepressants have that may cause suicide warnings on them. If your friends or loved ones start to improve please don't assume it's job done, they're okay and you can forget about them. Just for the hell of it, love them a little bit more.
When mum calls you by your full name, no matter your age. James Isaac Neutron.
Coming home to all your stuff out front. That's probably more like getting hit by a Molotov in Fallout 4 survival difficulty. Your parents bringing you your favorite food and talking in a higher voice. I want to see some stories like these. Gentle wave, hey, sweetie. ... This was me in middle school.
When the company you work for hires consultants to take an unbiased outside look at the company and maybe offer a few suggestions how we can improve and find hidden potential for streamlining our processes. It's a jump to conclusions, Matt.
If you come across an empty room with a black sofa, you know you're fucked. At least you get to be viral.
Coming in early for a quick chat with your boss and all the partners are there. Not exactly the same thing but my boss came into the room I was working in, first job in my chosen career field, 15 minutes before the end of my shift on a Thursday afternoon and asked for a quick chat before I left. I was fired.
I walk into the interview room, there's a glass of water on the table with a full Brita filter next to it O_O. Classic bladder test. If you can finish the interview without going to the bathroom, you're hired.
There's some donuts in the break room, when you have a minute come to my office we need to talk. Meeting with someone you have been talking to online and when you walk into the empty kitchen there is a plate of cookies.
Two girls in an argument, and one slowly, calmly begins removing her earrings. Similarly I have not seen good things occur if a weave is taken off in public voluntarily. Involuntary is pretty bad too, but that's usually just messy. No, the beatdowns come from the first option.
When your co-workers are super busy and you're just kinda not busy, but every time you go to take work off their hands or pick up projects, they say, "No, it's fine." I can take care of it, and then your work starts getting offloaded onto them, as well. Even worse when your supervisor asks you to explain some of your processes to a coworker, damn.
Your boss asks for meeting on Friday at 5 p.m. That's not the health pack room, that's already the battle music. No, that means you survived the cut. The people being terminated got the 9 a.m. Friday meeting. Have to be able to cut off all their access, IT accounts and escort them off the property.
When you come home and dad isn't there and mum is crying on the couch.
Weather-related incidents are usually calm in the build-up, with animals suddenly starting to freak out. Same with seismic events. If every animal runs in the same direction, follow them. Sci-fi survival tip number 61.
Water in the beach retreats dozens of yards inexplicably. Tsunami. Haul ass to higher ground. A huge fear after seeing footage of it during the Thailand one. Holy shit. Do you?
Walking into a classroom and everyone has buried their noses into the textbooks instead of chatting. I hate it when I forget the date of the final exam. Or walking into a classroom or work and nobody's there. Waking up and having a lot of missed calls from family members. Equally, 3 a.m. phone calls from people not known for drunk dialing. My grandmother is in hospice. My aunt is pretty sick too. My mum called me 3 times one afternoon while I was at work. Normally she texts me first.
If you're a kid in a hospital and you get a visit from the Avengers, well, the rare unique game over cutscene, Iron Man comes to bed.
When you come home early for a surprise only to find 2 pairs of shoes, 2 jackets in the lobby. You, my friend, just got yourself a free jacket and some new shoes. Turn on your TV. During the London 7/7 terrorist attacks, the motorway signs on the M25 City Ring Road simply said London is closed. Turn on your radio. Did all non-news broadcasts stop on 9/11?
Follow up doctor's appointment after a medical test, and the receptionist tells you to bring a friend when they schedule the visit. I got a letter from my doctor saying you must bring a support person about 2 months ago. Oh, and when the formerly very friendly receptionist suddenly can't look at you. When they put you in the room to wait for the doctor and no one has looked you in the eye once. You know then. I sure did.
Professionally, when the judge starts a hearing by silently reading the papers in front of him, her while scowling in your direction. Professionally, when the judge starts a hearing by silently reading the papers in front of him, her while scowling in your direction.
When you do something you know you're supposed to be in trouble for but your mum is all quiet and sad but nice to you. I just thought you were better than **** that, mum, dad. I hate this, I'd rather be punished and hit with the wooden spoon or flip-flop than deal with that torture.
In a working environment, suddenly finding out that a whole bunch of your responsibilities have been taken up by another employee who won't say much about it, and your manager starts asking more questions about where you keep stuff. Asking you to update documentation.
16 missed calls.
Recent experience. I expected murder, attempted murder, gunshots, gang war. For you, the day a dismembered corpse was left in the street was the scariest moment of your life. For Mexico, it was Tuesday. Bike dude is a real one.
Coming home to all your friends and family but it's not your birthday. This has been my worst birthday yet. The food's terrible, everyone's telling me to quit drinking, and it's not even my birthday. I saw this happen back in college. Guy in my dorm had his brother die in a helicopter crash just before Desert Storm.
Someone you don't know asks for you, using your full name. Damn, it's not the single mom from my area this time either, sad face. I was flying as an unaccompanied minor with my twin brother when we were maybe 9 or 10. On this one flight a crew member came up to our seats and called us by our first and last names. 96.
I see you BuzzFeed, writing a new article.
Getting told to hang on before you clock in and then being called into the management.
When the person in the white coat firmly, yet calmly, asks you to take a seat. My fave was an ultrasound on a suspected torn shoulder. Tech hit a certain point then let out a huge hiss between her teeth. But couldn't tell me anything because she can't interpret data. I may not have a white coat, but I have brown robes. Take a seat.
In war, before they send you into your likely death, they'd often feed you much better than usual. The Navy does steak and lobster and/or breaks out the ice cream when deployment is about to be extended. TFW Private Jenkins runs up to you excited that the CO handed out extra chocolate rations.
Air raid sirens on a nice summer day. We have siren tests every Saturday at 12. For us that usually means two very distant sirens from across the forest. And then when everything goes all rusty. Someone stopping the light-hearted conversation they were having to come over to you with a serious face when you walk into the room.
HR being present in a meeting you've been invited to. Yeah, they pulled that one on me when I was being promoted. Scared the shit out of me. This just gave me flashbacks. I can still smell the bullshit coming out of my former boss's mouth that day.
Hi, I'm Chris Hansen from Dateline NBC. Have a seat. Walking through HR to a meeting room that's been booked for you. I woke up one day to 2 new meeting reminders in my phone. The first at 11 was "Future of this location, all hands." The second was "Untitled" with only me and a super VP as attendees, scheduled for 4. When dealing with figures that have a high authority over you, it's either something really good or really bad coming your way. Walking into your Senate meeting and you are the only one of your friends without a sword. Why you too, Brutus?
Work starts losing, hiring a bunch new management. When a cop introduces themselves to you. Hi, John, I'm Officer John Decker and this is Officer Stephen Olson, do you mind if we talk for a bit? If they introduce themselves, they are like at most 30 minutes away from arresting you. Why does introducing themselves mean that? Wouldn't they introduce themselves even if they didn't plan to arrest you? I thought it was just a standard friendly thing. The cop who pulled me over for speeding 30 in a school zone introduced himself.
If you can use all your material for an exam you know you are gonna need it. OMG yes. Open book, open notes. Abject terror.
You should invite a trusted coworker or member of your union to this meeting. Had something similar for a collusion accusation for one of my programs in my assignment. Damn near shit myself, shit. Fuck. I have actually been told to bring a member of the union plus they hired a translator for a meeting to discuss my work performance on Monday. I really did not need this comment. Fuick, where's the save point?
If you have kids, it's when they disappear to another room and get quiet. If you don't investigate quick it's probably too late. Silence is golden. Unless you're a parent, then it's suspicious.
Steak and crab in the Navy. If nautical nonsense be something you wish.
Back in 2004 in dial-up days when you're up playing RuneScape and you hear your parents wake up and walking around the house 2 a.m. in the morning. You're up chopping your last set of U-logs as your screen freeze then lose connection. Then you hear footsteps slowly coming to your room. Well, what happened?
The week of September 11th, our entire 5th grade was at a week-long Camp Klassen. The attacks happened during this week, and no one told us.
Your password doesn't work for your workstation. Meh, remove Ethernet cable and log on using cached credentials, then plug Ethernet back in. You can continue to pretend to work until security shows up to drag you out.
Getting a 9 by 12 manila envelope in the mail. No, not that.
When all the higher-ups suddenly start taking their accumulated vacations. That's when you know the company is about to blow and it's time to find a job before you find yourself without one. Then you go for an interview and find one of your colleagues also applying for the same position.
Walking into a room full of people sitting in chairs in a circle. When my brother was in college, he went to a job interview at a bank. What, you've never walked into an impromptu game of musical chairs?
Your doctor wants to see you in person to discuss the results.
Signing a waiver for your consent. This comment should be higher up.
In my city, fireworks are sometimes used to cover the noise of gunfire. So, that, "Do you live in Beirut in 1982?"